Good morning. I am so late. I am sorry. Are we ready for the 4th of July coming up next week? One of my favorite holidays, distinctly American. So I've been on dog watch, so I had to go out and check the live traps. Did not catch Bolt, as his new name is going to be. And thank goodness we didn't catch a skunk either. I saw a skunk last night. I was like, oh my God, we catch a skunk in the live trap, and that's going to be a mess. So I'm sorry that I'm so late this morning. We've talked a lot the last couple of weeks about things not going as planned and what happens when that type of thing happens. Well, ask yourself this question. Where does all suffering come from? Whenever we suffer in life, where does that come from? Expectations. Suffering comes when what you expect to happen and what actually does happen aren't the same thing. And in fact, when people become suicidal, what they expect to happen and what does happen are not the same thing, and they feel helpless to change it. That's when somebody becomes suicidal. When the blueprint of their life and their actual life doesn't match, which, let's be frank, happens for most of us most anyway. That's when they become, sorry, I lost my connection. That's when they become suicidal. So suffering is when your expectations don't match real life. So what does Tony Robbins say about this? Because I love his phrases, of course. Obviously, I follow those a lot. Change your expectation for appreciation. When your expectation is changed for appreciation, then all suffering ends. Think about that for a second. If instead of expecting something to go a certain way, the outcome to be this way, the scale to say this, your bank account to say this, your child to do this or not do that, or whatever the case may be, your spouse to react this way instead of this way. When you change that expectation to an appreciation for what you do have and the things that are going right and what is great in your life and what is positive in your life, when you flip those two things, suddenly suffering goes out the window and you're never in a suffering state. Now, what we try to do as part of the Robbins family is we try to limit our suffering to 90 seconds. We don't look at it and say we're never going to suffer. That's pretty unrealistic. But we look at it and say, okay, when we go into a suffering state, we know it's because our expectations are not matching what actually happened. So instead, we shift and start thinking about, okay, what can we appreciate in this moment? What can I be happy about in this moment? And we all kind of have our own flavor of suffering, right? We've all kind of got our own way of doing it. So that's a good thing to know, because when things go into a crisis, you're going to go to that flavor. Some people go into flight mode, like my dog. Some people panic. Some people get angry. Some people try to fix and nurture. Some people distract themselves and run away and go do something different, and then something different, and then something different, and then something different. Everybody's got their own particular way and their particular flavor of suffering. It's a good idea to know yours, because then you're going to know when you're in a crisis state. Then you're going to know when you're like, okay, my expectations are not matching reality, and so now I'm in a suffering state, so I need to change my expectations for appreciation, and then all my suffering is going to end. And when you change those two things, then suddenly life changes dramatically. And how does that impact you? Well, when you're no longer in that suffering state, you're going to make better choices. You're going to look at the situation more rationally. You're going to find other options. Most of the time as coaches, when we coach somebody, what we're really doing is getting them to step back and take a look at the things that they're not looking at. They're almost always stuck in their story, and they just keep saying the same thing over and over again, and we all do this. And so what you have to do is you have to get them out of that story. You have to get them to step back and say, okay, what else could be going on here if you really wanted to take a look at it? And mostly we do that with physiology. Get them up, get them moving, getting them to do something else, get their energy up, and then ask themselves a better question. What's another way that you could look at this? What's another question that you could ask that would be helpful? What's a resource that you have that you haven't thought about? And when they start thinking about those things, now all of a sudden different answers come to them. So the reason to get out of the suffering state is because you're going to see more opportunities. You're going to see more ways to handle the situation that you don't currently see because you're stuck in that suffering state. Have a great Thursday, everybody. I will keep everybody updated on the status of Bolt. I want to say hi to everyone this morning. We have a lot of people on this morning. Kevin Johnson, great to see you. KJ, Mr. Lampy, as always, it's great to have you here. Minhal, great to see you. Trino, my goodness, I need to call you, my brother. Great to see you. Lisa, thank you so much for saying hi. Kim Mahoney, thank you for being here this morning. Mike Hefner, are you up in Wisconsin in your cabin, my brother? Did you make it up there? Nancy, thank you so much. Tanya, great to see you. Chrissy out in Boston, what's going up, you loser? Dawn, I need some lobster. I've been craving lobster. Leah, thank you so much for hopping on. And Kathy, it's so great to see you guys. I'm truly honored that everybody takes the time to watch. I hope you get value. Drop notes in the chat. Dawn, so great to see you. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.